The brave little cloud who wanted to nap. Once upon a time, high up in the blue sky, there was a little cloud named Fluffy. Fluffy was a soft white cloud who loved to float through the sky and watch all the other clouds play. Every day, the clouds would drift lazily, changing shapes, and sometimes even making funny faces for the birds below to see. But one bright afternoon, Fluffy was feeling very tired. His fluffy little body felt heavier, and his puffy edges drooped a bit lower. He realized that he really wanted to take a nap. After all, naps were so cozy and warm, but there was just one problem. Fluffy was worried. He didn't want to miss out on all the fun. Fluffy looked down at the world below. The birds were singing, the trees were swaying in the breeze, and the other clouds were playing games, drifting in funny shapes and chasing each other around. What if I take a nap and miss something exciting? Fluffy wondered. I don't want to be left out. So, instead of drifting off to sleep, Fluffy decided to keep floating, hoping the tiredness would go away. But the more he tried to stay awake, the more his little cloud body wanted to rest. It wasn't long before Fluffy began to feel really, really tired, and his edges got even droopier. The first try, Fluffy floated alongside his best friend, Puffy, who was a big, fluffy cloud. Puffy was busy making silly shapes, like a bunny and a boat, and Fluffy couldn't help but giggle. But as much as Fluffy wanted to join in, his little eyes felt heavy. Maybe I'll just close my eyes for a second, Fluffy thought, but as soon as he closed his eyes, he started to hear a gentle voice. Fluffy, don't you want to see the sun setting? It's going to be so beautiful tonight, Puffy called out. The golden light will make the sky look like it's made of rainbows. Fluffy opened his eyes and smiled, but he couldn't ignore the sleepy feeling deep inside. I do want to see the sunset, Fluffy said with a yawn, but I'm so tired. Don't worry, Fluffy, Puffy said. You can rest any time. The sunset will still be here when you wake up. But Fluffy wasn't sure. What if he missed the most beautiful sunset ever? The lesson of the wind. As Fluffy floated higher into the sky, a soft breeze blew past. It was the wind, who was always gentle and wise. The wind noticed that Fluffy was looking tired and a little unsure. Why don't you rest, little cloud? The wind asked kindly. You've been floating all day, and you've worked hard. I don't want to miss anything, Fluffy replied. I might miss the fun, or the sunset, or the other clouds. The wind smiled softly. Fluffy, sometimes we need rest so that we can enjoy the fun even more. When you take a nap, you fill yourself up with energy, and that's when the magic happens. When you wake up, everything feels brighter, and you'll see things you never noticed before. Fluffy wasn't sure, but the wind's words were comforting. But what kind of magic happens when I nap? Fluffy asked. Magical dreams. The wind gently swirled around Fluffy and whispered, Close your eyes, little one, and I'll show you. Fluffy's little cloud body finally gave in, and he let himself rest. He closed his eyes, and soon he began to drift off into a peaceful, soft nap. And as he slept, something wonderful happened. Fluffy found himself in a world filled with sparkling stars and colorful rainbows. He was floating in the most beautiful sky he had ever seen, with soft, glowing clouds that played music as they floated by. Fluffy could feel a cool, calming breeze and hear the soft whisper of the stars. In this dream world, Fluffy was surrounded by other friendly clouds who showed him how to make magical shapes and even how to make the most beautiful sunsets. He learned that napping wasn't just for resting. It was for discovering new adventures and magical places that only clouds who nap can see. Waking up to a new adventure. When Fluffy woke up, he felt completely refreshed and full of energy. The sky around him looked even more beautiful than before, and the sunset was just beginning. The golden light filled the sky, and Fluffy realized that everything seemed brighter and more magical after his nap. He floated over to Puffy, who was now making a shape of a tree, and said, "I had the most amazing dream while I napped. I went on a magical adventure with other clouds, and I learned how to make the most amazing sunsets." Puffy smiled. "See? I told you. Naps are not just for resting. They help you see things in a new way, and you can always join in the fun after." Fluffy felt so happy and peaceful, knowing that naps were not only important but magical. He could rest and still enjoy everything that came afterward. From that day on, Fluffy took naps whenever he needed them. He realized that naps didn't mean missing out. They brought new adventures, dreams, and energy for all the fun that was yet to come. And every time he took a nap, he felt braver and more ready to explore.